Hi, my name is Tabitha Miller. I'm in the MAT Early Education Program area at UNCP. This is the basic tenets of education and semester summer 1. Let's get started. My philosophical statement is that today's children are tomorrow's leaders. Children deserve to receive the best education because they're going to run our country one day. And these are pictures from my class this past year. In this slide, I put teaching style. So I like to teach more with a centered base, hands-on, because students relate better with using the 5 senses versus paperwork. When I'm instructing a lesson, I try to keep the students engaged through involvement. I use the cooperative learning strategy, which allows students to work together on projects, presentations, role-playing, and most importantly, I believe in making learning fun, because if they're having fun doing it, they'll become life learners. And this is from figure 6.1. Classroom management. The desks are arranged in 5 groups in my classroom with 5 students. The whiteboard is in front of my classroom. The television is on the back wall, and the students are arranged so that they can see all instruction from their seats. My desk is in the back right corner. If you see back here, that's where my desk is located. We have a cow under the TV. That's where our iPads are located. And I have a shelf back here where I keep our supplies, and they're in bins. And I also assign a helper to pass out supplies when needed. I have flexible seating that I allow students to have when they're finished with their work. But that is a privilege that they earn, but it's a fun, relaxing area. It's decorated like a camping ground. But I got my resources are from figure 9.1. All right, as you can see on this slide, I have a short little video I'd like to share with you so you can see the outlay of my classroom. I have my little area over here where my kids have flexible seating. You see my groups, my whiteboard, my desk, the TV, where my supplies are. So you get to see a quick outlay of my classroom. You get to see where I have my schedules posted, my centers. I love doing room transformations. We read Mr. Popper's Penguins, and my kids enjoyed this room transformation. I did a few others throughout the year to go with our unit.
It's Antarctica!
So much fun.
Whoa! Where's my seat? Can I please be there? Hey, y'all coming in.
Fast forward it to go to the next slide. Here are my classroom rules to reinforce positive behavior, creating a respectful environment. RESPECT, praising desired behavior. I love the way Harper is sitting. Great job, Harper. Thank you. Students will earn rewards with token, reinforcer, and privileges. So I have a system where I give little money out for good behavior as a reward, and by the end of the week, they will see if they have enough money to go to the store. Um, and then they also earn privileges, like I said before, with flexible seating, extra recess time, sit wherever you like, out lunch, things like that. So I encourage positive behavior um, through being the example. It starts at the top, it starts with me. So I show my students respect and kindness. I also establish a positive teacher student relationship with them. I show them that I care about them. And I do that by sitting with them at lunch. I have conversations with them. I get to know them. I play with them outside during recess. Now, as far as managing negative behaviors, call on the students to get them involved in the lesson. So I try to do the response plan where I address the negative behavior quickly. I go up to them and I try to whisper to them or have a conversation out in the hallway where we try to get to the bottom of, what's going on and maybe what is triggering them to not pay attention or be disruptive or misbehave. And step 2, I'll use a mild response where I will call on the student to participate in the lesson. Step 3, I'll use a moderate response, which is where students that have not followed the directions have earned themselves a consequence. So I've given grace. I've tried to give them a chance to do the right thing and correct the behavior, but unfortunately, it resulted in them losing some recess time or having silent lunch. And then I do have a step 4, which I try not to reach, but it has happened where the student will receive a write-up through the front office. And through these classroom rules, it is very important to make sure you're communicating with the parents for positive behavior and negative. So not always negative, but it's important to let the parents know what's going on. Techniques used for an effective classroom. Clarity in going over the rules and procedures and expectations. Keep class focused during instruction. Walk around, be present. Plan strategies. Stop inappropriate behavior. Hold students accountable. And be clear in communicating and organize the flow of the lesson plan so it's not stagnant and boring. Now, these I have found to be the main tactics that work the best for to maintain classroom order. I've learned it through trial and error, being a teacher presently. Now, the resources that support this as well is from Burden 2017, Emmer and Everson 2017, Good and Brophy 2008, Wong and Wong 2009. As you can see here on this slide, I just listed a few of my personal classroom rules. Now, I like to usually involve the students in asking them what rules they think they should have in maintaining a safe environment at school. Now, then the class will vote on 2, maybe 3 to add to the classroom rules. And these rules are given to the parents at the beginning of school in their welcome packet. They are to read them with their child and sign off and return them that they do understand them. I also go over them in great detail on the first day of school. Now we're going to go over procedures. And here I have an example of my daily schedule from the beginning of the day to the very end of the day, from unpacking to packing to go home. And I have this posted in my classroom on the wall for everyone to see, and the kids are very good at learning their routines. I like to start my lessons with a bell ringer. So as I transition into a new subject, I use a class call to get everyone's undivided attention, whether it's class, class, and they answer yes, yes, or I have a bell that's like ding, 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 and then the kids clap. So those are ways that I get their undivided attention before I start a lesson. I then use a question, I call it a bell ringer, where I ask the students a question to make them start thinking. For example, for social studies, our social studies lessons, we were going over the Bill of Rights, and I asked my students to think about a right they think they should have right now as a child. Like as a child in their shoes, what right do they think they should have? And it gets them to start thinking. And then after that, of course, I give an opportunity for the students to share, and we go from there. After the instruction, the students will work in groups on activity, and when complete, they will turn in their assignments. Now, before turning in their assignments, they need to check it. And there's a few steps. The first one is your name on your work? Did you complete every question? And you ask yourself, is this my best work? And then once you turn it in, I allow them to get onto what I call reading A through Z. And if they are completed with all other assignments, they may go and read until everybody is finished. All right, daily routines. One thing I've learned is that you have to be very, very, very specific in your detail, and examples are great. So, the procedure checklist, again, same thing as the rules. I am going to have a checklist, and we are going to go through each one of these in detail on the first day of school. Now, this will allow me to know for sure that they understand. We're going to review them, and we also review when we come from long breaks because sometimes we forget. But it is very important to be specific. And Emmer and Everson 2017 supports this, and I also received some information from Figure 9.3 and Figure 9.4. Here are some more examples of procedures lining up. You have to be specific again, straight in a row, facing forward, hands by your side, no talking. These are just expectations. You have to have clear expectations. You have to spell it out for them. Principles for assessment and grading. You have to start with knowing the reason you are given an assessment. Not to give it just to give it to fill time or because you feel like you have to, but you have to understand the reason. It is to know the students where their strengths and their weaknesses are, to follow students' growth in achieving objectives, to give feedback. Now, all of these are part of a purpose. Now, your measurement. I measure my class understanding of the objectives with a 70% proficiency. That lets me know majority of the class understood it. Now, it's a little lower than I'd like, but you do have a variety of students and demographics and all those that play a part. So 70 is a good base for me to know if we have successfully mastered that lesson. Now, as a whole group or even individually, if I have a student or the majority of the class, I will reteach the lesson. If majority of the class, then I reteach it to the whole class. If it's just one or two students, I reteach it to them. I don't leave them behind. I don't move them on without going back over it. The data from these assessments allow me to see what areas need to be retaught, making good or grading decisions, and then making instructional decisions. The data overall helps in planning, teaching, and assessing process. These come from Burden and Bird 2019 and McMillan 2018. Our school personally uses uses NWEA MAPS testing. Now we do this a couple times throughout the year, at the beginning, the middle, and the end. And I truly take time to look at those so I can assess where my students are. I also test them at the beginning of the year from knowledge that they should have received from the previous year, but that lets me know where I need to start. Again, as I said before in the last slide, within the first 2 weeks of school, I conduct a pre-assessment on material that was from the previous year's curriculum. This allows me to know where my students are academically. I use formative assessment throughout the lesson to check comprehension, and it may look like verbally asking them some questions, a writing assignment, projects, presentations, or the original quiz. This allows me to give the students feedback as we're going through the unit. And at the end of the unit, I can give a test to receive the data as needed to move forward. And here I have my references from my presentation. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for listening.